Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services in Eastland, Texas. Tune in every week as we share important information to help you and your family live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, legacy and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
We're here for another episode of Black and White Market Chatter on Life Planning 101. Matt Ervin flying solo today. Aaron is out for a couple of days of fishing. He had an opportunity to do an amazing fishing trip, and so one of the things he was doing, I talked to him this morning. He was going out on the boat today, but yesterday he had the catch of the day, and I guess it's a type of cod that he caught, and I was teasing him because the slang name for this ling cod is actually Alaskan sea dragon. So next time you see Aaron, you'll have to ask him about his fishing adventure. But for today, let's get right into the market. And a couple of things to talk about. First being, we're having a great week. The market's up just about 2.5% across all indices for the last 5 days. And looks like we're going to have a strong finish to the week, which is great. It's a great feeling. Looking at from some of the lows in June, the S&P's up about 16% off some of those lows. Nasdaq's up closer to 21, and of course it had a bigger pullback from the beginning of the year. So we're getting back to where we feel, it's an okay feeling, right? We're like to see the green on the screen a little bit. One of the contributors to that this week was a huge influx of cash, invested cash, fund flows. There's about $4.2 billion of net equity purchases this week, which is the biggest since June. So some people got some cash that was on the sideline and got it into play into the markets. And there's a couple of things contributing to that, but that is, one of those factors was the inflation print came out. So the producer price index had a big downside surprise. So they were forecasted to go up by 0.2%, and it actually had a negative 0.5%, which I believe got it close to what it was prior to the last print, which was up 1 full percentage point. So it's about 9.69 year over year, which is still high. But the question, everybody starts asking the question is, did we hit peak inflation? And there's just no way to know until we see the trend in the indicators to help us follow it through. So when you start peeling back the layers, even in the CPI print, it pulled back just a little bit. It had a medium forecast to 8.7, it actually came in at 8.5 year over year. When we look at housing, though, that's still one of the things that's up. When you look at some of the discretionary areas like used cars, that's come off a little bit. So really, it's not super definitive, but people are liking to see that because that's one of the main things the Fed's looking at is the inflation, right? They've vowed to do whatever it takes to take care of inflation. And so, they had forecasts of raising interest rates again by 0.75% or 75 basis points. And now people are speculating that since those inflation indexes came off, they may only raise it 0.5%, which is still a lot. But then there's just, like I say, until we have some more data, it's going to be hard to tell. But one other thing that's pretty interesting is that the Fed meets again on the 20th of September. Starts their 2-day meeting, and we'll get another CPI print and PPI print prior to that on the 13th and 14th. And right now some of the Fed presidents are able to come out and speak, but at that next one in September, it'll actually be in kind of that quiet period leading up to that Fed meeting. And so depending on how that comes out will obviously determine the outcome of what the Fed does. And so we're watching that closely. And in the labor market is another thing we talk about a lot. There's a lot of talk about being in such a tight labor market. And, I've got two notifications today of companies that are actually, going to start laying people off and cutting jobs. And so there's kind of a mixed bag of when they say there's enough jobs, 2 jobs for every 1 person out there, but yet they're laying off so many people. So there's going to be a point for which the labor market collides like that. And So again, we do believe that there'll be some buying opportunity going forward. We're going to take the green days. It feels great for the short term, but we still are going to keep our dry powder and be ready to take advantage of it, because it is there's still a lot of this story to unfold and unpack. But like I said, the fund flows was kind of a big thing this week. And that goes back to what Aaron was mentioning last week with the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Folks, everybody wants to know when that day is to jump in. And again, today is not quite that day. We do get a little bit of our cash on the sidelines working. But as far as some of the dry powder we have built in, it's still hanging out in dry powder. So, if you guys have any questions or thoughts or concerns, we call us. We're here to help. Here to help ease your mind and take care of you. But I hope we got something out of today, and I do appreciate our listeners and our growing fan base. Share it with your friends. The statistics on our podcasts are looking great, and it wouldn't be without you, our listeners. So our client base, and we just appreciate you guys, and we'll be back next week for another episode of Black and White Market Minute on Life Planning 101.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services. If you have questions, you can email them to lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more Life Planning 101. The opinions expressed herein are those of the firm and are subject to change without notice. The opinions referenced are as of the date of publication and are subject to change due to changes in the market or economic conditions and may not necessarily come to pass. Any opinions, projections, or forward-looking statements expressed herein are solely those of the author, may differ from the views or opinions expressed by other areas of the firm, and are only for general informational purposes as of the date indicated. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Smart Money Group LLC. Kennedy Financial Services and Smart Money Group LLC are separate entities and are not owned or controlled by Calton & Associates Incorporated.